You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
What have values got to do with marketing? Now, you might be thinking, well, that's about giving value in your marketing. But no, that's not what we're talking about here today. We're talking about your values that you value in business, in people, in life, and how they're relevant, how they're important, and why they're actually critical to your marketing success. So, got a great one coming up for you today. Please stay tuned. Let's get into it.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
Now, today's very special guest is one of my Business Jam alumni. And Kristy Ansell, she is a social media manager, a marketer and content coach, also the founder of Sticky Beak Social Media. She has 20 years experience in the field of marketing and a few qualifications under her belt. She is somebody who's very passionate about a business that is very aligned with values. And that is what she brings to her business, how she runs her marketing, and how she has run her clients' marketing as well to great success. So she's going to share with us today, well, what does this mean to adopt values and have a value-based approach in your marketing, in your business? And what can that do for you? What will it mean for you once you have done it? Kristy, you can connect with her at Sticky Beak Social Media over on Instagram. She does lots of really fun reels, and it is with great pleasure that I'm now going to play this interview for you. Okay, and I'm here today with Kristy from Sticky Beak Social Media. Thank you so much for joining me today, Kristy. I can't wait to have this discussion.
Oh, thank you, Jess. It's actually quite a privilege to be here because I've been listening to your podcast, and you know what? This is my first guest podcast, so I'm popping my cherry today.
Wow. Well, I'm very honoured that you've agreed to come on and be a guest on my podcast for your first one. So that's exciting. Yeah. So can you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do, who you serve in your business?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a social media manager and content coach. So what that means, my clients are women-owned businesses, service-based businesses, small businesses, and I sort of tackle my business that I sometimes laugh and say it's a bit like Jesus. I'll either go out and get the fish for you or I will teach you how to fish. So it's really a twofold approach. So when I do the done-for-you social media management, it's really about helping my clients build community, have a really engaged audience of the right followers, really important. And to do that connection, that nurturing and that conversion into clients, which I deliver through, content creation and strategy and intentional messaging. But I do recognise that there's a lot of small businesses out there that just, they do want to do their social media themselves because they really want to hone in on their brand voice. And I quite get that. And they don't want to be, paying every month for social media content. So through coaching sessions, I also work with women. I recognise it's not their field of expertise, but I can lay out the pathway, for them to really eliminate what their challenges and struggles are, to make sure that their messaging is really intentional. Some of the women I've coached have come in and they don't have clear business goals, or they don't even have brand colours. So I meet them where they're at. So it's very much tailored and customised coaching. It's not just strictly, here's how to do an account, here's how to write a caption, here's the hashtags you should be researching. It's very much looking at their business holistically and working out where they need they need help. So, and it's such a buzz. That's where I get a buzz out of working with these women that leave the session on top of the world and full of excitement. I had a coaching client yesterday and I did it in-house, and I swear I thought she was going to kiss me at the end of it. She was just so thrilled. She ended up booking in 2 coaching sessions, and she messaged me last night. She was already starting to think about things, and she just had so much excitement, and that just makes me walk on air when when you've had that impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's something that just stood out to me in what you're saying is, really helping to nurture people, because it's not just about providing a service, but the reason why they're reaching out is often that they don't know what to do or how best to do it. And in not only doing it for them, but also showing them how to, if you're doing that combination of coaching and service delivery, how powerful is that? Because you're giving them the understanding of what it is they're doing, how it fits into your business, really helping them to lead their business and be in control of it and not feel like it's just this thing that I've got to do and I don't know how to do it, so I'm paying someone else to do it. And it's like, that's where it can feel so superficial, but this feels like much more of a partnership, and you're really supporting those business owners to step into the shoes and run their business. So that's such a great way to look at it.
Often the relationship goes on. I can't help myself. I touch base, see how they're going, see if they've got any questions. Sometimes they might come back and book another coaching session. Sometimes it's just about eliminating a few of their struggles just with a little bit of description or a quick voice message or something along those lines. So it's really about nurturing that relationship, and it's not. I always see my clients as people. They're not transactions. They're not just money in the door. It is a genuine, authentic partnership, and that's what I'm seeking. And so far, they're the sort of people I've been attracting.
Yes,
I'm not in the hustle mode.
No, exactly. Yeah, it sounds like a really great values-based relationship, which is, of course, what we're here to talk about today. So Can you tell us a bit about why you started in business, when you started, because this isn't your first foray in marketing. You've been, as I understand it, have been in marketing for many, many years. So tell us a bit about, your transition.
I've had a long time in marketing, 20 years. I started when I was 5. And I worked predominantly, those years were in large corporates. So, I did work in segment marketing. I managed a Victorian team of marketing communications people. I did a lot of both strategic and tactical marketing, programs, mentoring, events, strategies, briefing, working with advertising agencies, building up the mindset of teams, all of that sort of thing. But you know what? I had a really strong call to be a mum. I was in a position where I wanted to start a family, and I thought, I've had a great career, and I was fortunate enough to make a lot of money and have some security behind me. So I had my first child, and I thought at the time, I'd be prepared to give up the career and just really raise a family and maybe get some jobs on the side, etc. I had a little niggling, once I'd had a few years of parenting, which I absolutely loved. I really wanted to get back into, using my thinking brain again and not my mum brain. Yeah. And so I went back into doing some marketing contracting. And then I had a second child, and I took a couple of years off. And then I thought, now I really want to get back in. I had my Bachelor of Business in Marketing. I had all these skills that I could transfer into just about any industry. What was I going to do with them? But I found that I had a gap in the digital side of things. And I thought, really, to get back in at the level that I was used to, I'm really going to have to fill that gap. So I went back to school for a couple of years, to uni, and did a course on digital marketing and social media marketing. And then I thought, you know what, I'd like to do this myself. I don't want to go back into corporate because it was very long hours plus travelling time. I would basically be starting again to, establish my reputation. Yeah. And frankly, Jess, and I think I've heard you touch on this before, it is not an even playing field for women in the corporate business.
No.
And so I was really drawn to start up a social media management business and coaching business because it's working with women, and I feel like we're really starting to find our voice now. And when women unite, we are a force to be reckoned with. So I wanted to be part of that. I'm very big on working with women, in my church community, in my friendship group. So I really wanted to help women. And I found that there were a lot of women that had been in the corporate field, so they had oodles of experience and skills and knowledge, but they just didn't know much about starting a business or starting a business online.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring in, I guess, my skills in marketing, my skills in communication, my skills in copywriting, and I suppose I have an innate draw to help, and to work with people to get them from one stage to another. And this is what my business has enabled me to do. I can coach, I can do it for you, and I've made some wonderful connections, both in my client base, but also in my peer base as well. So it's really been, I know it's the field that I want to be in. And I'm also very realistic that, you have to set yourself up for the long game. And it's about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I do walk the walk. I do things that I'm fearful of. I do things for the first time because I encourage that in my clients as well. Yeah.
That's so true. And, you can just see there's so many women, like you said, with a lot of experience and value, and just, starting a business. Every business actually needs marketing. Like, you can't have a business with no clients. The way you get clients is marketing, really, to have a sustainable business, because the other option, obviously, if you're just getting referrals, then you're in the feast and famine of referrals and you have no control over your client acquisition, which isn't a great place to be in. So, to have that control, you need marketing. And it's so great that you're champion, I can't even say that word, being the champion for
the work today.
The mouth is not going to wrap around it today, so I will leave that aside. But we were talking about, the values that you had and why you started the business. And then obviously that's how you've been marketing your business. So how do you help other women that you're working with market their business based on their values? Like, how does this value piece come in?
Well, sometimes it's about sitting down with them and having them recognise on paper what their values are. Because it's, to start a business, you have to be able to build a brand voice, and that brand voice needs to be fairly consistent with whatever you do, the way you talk to your audience, if you're doing a live or on stories, as well as the way you write. And gone are the old days of we write copy like we're writing a business paper. Where we truly connect with our audience is writing well, but writing in a conversational way. And so in doing that, you have to really understand, my clients need to understand their values, and sometimes they just need a little bit of help getting there. And I explain, my values are about, honesty, good communication, being authentic, having empathy and compassion for those that need that journey, assistance with that journey. So for me, it's not about having a hustle culture, but it's about also setting my client up with a growth mindset. I have worked with clients that they don't want to show their face on social media. They don't want to create video. And, with the changes that have been made, particularly on Instagram lately, if you don't put your face out there, you're going to be left behind. So, sometimes it's about working on mindset and removing that fear of judgment and, going ahead and doing something that you're really, really uncomfortable with, and talking about, examples of the way I've had to do that in my business. And I had a little life lesson the other day. I came home and the house was freezing. The heater turned off, the ducted heating. The pilot light had blown out. And I have a bit of a fear of gas and fire. And so I'm a single mum. So I rang around to some dads and some brothers and some husbands to see who could help me. And, they could all help, but not till the end of the day. So I went out there and took the cover off, and because I thought, I have to I have to talk to my clients about stepping forward in fear. And I've adopted the motto this year of courage over confidence. So I've got to be able to do things that I'm fearful of. I'm going to give this a go myself. So I took the cover off, read the instructions, wouldn't light. It needed a gas gun because the igniter was old. So I jumped on YouTube to find out how to do it. And then I went out there and I lit the damn thing. And I kid you not, I felt like I could have done the Rocky, running up the steps with the cut-off sleeves and,
Yes.
and raising my arms. I just felt so damn confident. And I thought, that's really a good analogy to also talk to my clients about. You've got to be able to walk the walk in your life, and the business values that you set are really your personal values as well, that you transpose into your business values.
Yeah.
So that's what I try and encourage with my clients, the right growth mindset. And then, we talk about all the details on how to craft messages and how to actually, look at what's incorporated in a caption and things like that, how to do an engagement strategy, build an engagement strategy and a hashtag strategy and all the strategies,
yes,
and all the details. I go through that with them in detail at a level that, they can really understand and understand the nuances and the challenges behind it, because there is no one solution fits all. And I'm never going to promise that you're going to grow your account by 100% in a month's time. And I think any social media manager out there, and there are plenty of them that promise this, I think you need to say thank you very much and next. Because, they cannot commit to that, because things happen in the market, things happen in your business, you change your mind, or there's certain opportunities that come up. And sometimes you might try certain things and they don't work. So you have contingencies in place to try other things. It's a little bit of a trial and testing process. And that's what I am very open and honest about, up front, that you're not going to build Rome in a day.
No.
It will take time, but you know what? It's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
So...
Now, value is one of these words that gets bandied around quite a lot on Instagram, wherever you read content about marketing. And I thought it might be useful just to dive into what the difference is between giving value in content and doing value-based marketing, which is what we're talking about here. So do you want to explain what you see the difference is with those?
Starting off with, I guess, value-based marketing. And that's where, I talk about things like understanding what your personal values are and then authentically demonstrating them in your business, because they're still, and I still see it with women online, and it's not just women, but women online, where they see trends or they see certain reels and actions and they know it's not them, not for them, but they feel compelled to follow because, they think that, well, that is what is going to win me followers, or that is what is going to get me known. But it just doesn't work. And it comes across, you can see the ones where you think, that's not really you, is it, love? But you're giving it a damn good go. So that's where it's about bringing your personal values and being authentic in the way that you present yourself. And then in value-based marketing, it's also, really understanding what your client needs, really understanding what they're struggling with, and then really delivering on what you commit to deliver. Yeah. So if you commit to your client that you're going to have open and honest communication, which also includes challenging them on their thinking or perhaps steering them in a different direction as diplomatically as you can, then you're going to have the strength to do that. Yes. If I have knocked back clients before because I've seen, the red flags up front, and it's been when I've probably needed the business, but I thought, our values don't align. You're going to be very, very difficult to work with. And in fact, I'm probably not ever going to deliver what you want. Yes. So it's a little bit of both. It's the values you bring. And the value that you create for someone. And as I said, it's not just doing, if I'm doing their social media management, it's not just doing that, but it's also engendering some self-confidence and some self-assurity, because eventually I may want to hand that back to them at some point, or, you know, help them with other streams of their business along those lines.
And I think something that you said just a minute ago about the content it's so good, and definitely something to make note of is in giving value in content, it's not giving your clients what they want, but it's actually giving them what they need. And they're two different things. And I think a lot of people are out there going, what do people want to hear? Well, I'm going to post about what they want to hear. But the thing is, if that's what they want to hear, then it's something they already know. So how are you adding any value to their day when you're just delivering up more repetition of something that they already know? Yes. Whereas when you're giving them what they need, like you said, done nicely and obviously in a way, that is so much more powerful and valuable. And obviously it's aligned, you know, with your values as, you know, what it is that you're presenting yourself as in your business. Then that's the content that clicks. It's not about whether it's a reel, whether it's a live, whether it's a caption or whatever you see people doing. It's actually the premise and the presence behind it is what delivers that engagement and that interaction, because it's what's landing for them as opposed to you just trying to emulate someone else that you see out there, like you mentioned. So I think that was such a great point, and I just wanted to amplify that for anybody listening, because anytime that we're just creating content based on what we think the audience is wanting, it's not the most powerful content for them. That's just a little tip to take away from today. So the other word that people say is consistency. You know, everybody's talking about you need to be consistent all the time. So what does this really mean?
So consistency, and this has been something that I have talked about quite a bit in my business, that consistency, it's just not about posting or sharing information every day. It's about being consistent with your brand voice, for example. You don't want to be, you know, crafting captions or talking to your audience very, very formally and officially, you know, one day, and the next day you're using, you know, homey slang and which is all over social media. It's not so much for me, but you know, I'm quite okay with the, you know, the abbreviations of words and that, you know, going to being gonna. But you know, the homey slang, because someone's going to say, well, hang on a tick, you didn't sound like that previously. Why have you all of a sudden, are you trying to be like somebody else? And it doesn't come across as authentic.
Yes.
You need to be consistent with your approach to your social media. So if you're choosing to, if we talk Instagram, for example, if you're choosing to post 3 times a week, but create 2 stories a day, then post 3 times a week and create 2 stories a day. Don't do 5 one week and then 2 the next, and then have a week off and then do 7 to try and make up for it. You know, be consistent in your approach. Be consistent with the time of day that you want to post. With the algorithm, and I always think of the algorithm as a man, but if I was having coffee with him, we'd have really good conversation and we'd laugh. But then I'd look the other way and he'd nick off down the street without paying for the coffee. You know, that's what I sometimes think of as the algorithm. Right when you've got them pegged, you know, they do something, it does something that surprises you. But you can also, like sometimes I find my peak times for my audience is right when I'm dropping the kids off at school. That just doesn't suit me. So if you consistently post at a time where your audience is getting used to you posting at that time, the algorithm will eventually, you know, stay for that second coffee and then shout you, so to speak. You know, it will learn that, that's when you're online, that's when you're engaging, and all of a sudden your audience will recognise that. And you know what? If it doesn't, but it still doesn't suit you to post a drop-off time, then don't do it. So again, it's about being consistent with your values, because the audience will find you at the end. You don't have to run out and chase after them. If you're doing content that they need and you have really pegged your ideal client, then the information you provide and the voice that you use will naturally draw them to you.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's great. So what do you think the biggest mistakes are that you see people making?
All the mistakes I made, Jess.
We all have to make the mistakes to know that they are one. I think that's part of life, isn't it?
We do. Well, I remember I've been in business just over a year, and I felt like, the penny year last year, which really was the second year of our pandemic, but I didn't get much traction because I couldn't put much time in, and I was homeschooling and juggling all the things. But you know what? Doing that backdrop, I've forgotten your question.
Just the biggest mistake.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. What do you think the biggest mistake is that you see people making? Maybe we just
the biggest mistake. There you go. Trying to take on too much.
Yeah.
Trying to take on too much. Well, I remember when I started, I thought I'm my own ideal client in 12 months' time. So in 12 months' time, I'd be looking back to, Kristy in those first couple of months thinking, I know what I struggled with. That's what I want to help my clients with.
Yeah.
I think the mistakes people are making online is that they're not investing early enough. I think, even the most business savvy, experienced and qualified, women I've seen come online, it can be a real challenge to actually develop an online business. There's a lot of the tech that goes behind it. There's processes. And there's a lot to put in place. And sometimes that's not anything to do with your core offering. It's just about providing a vehicle to deliver your core offering.
Yeah.
So I would say, from my perspective, I would have invested in a coach earlier than I did. I have had a number of different coaches and done a number of different courses in the just over 12 months that I've been in business. And, it makes an enormous difference, because if you are not prepared to invest in yourself, why would other people invest in you?
Yes.
And it's all about continuously building on that knowledge. And, I'm not one to stand still, and I thrive on learning new things. And then I thrive even more on being able to impart and share that knowledge. So investing, trying not to do all the things yourself, and really starting from a strategic perspective, not just, I'm a bit sick of hearing the analogy of throwing spaghetti against the window and waiting for it to stick, but that does describe what it is. It's one thing to try new things and test things, but do it from a strategic perspective.
Yeah.
Don't just, I'm going to communicate this message today and that message tomorrow and another message the next day. You actually need to be, quite strategic. What are your business goals? And then what are your strategies to meet those business goals? And then how do you craft and tailor an intentional message to achieve a particular strategy? So, 1 week or 1 month, you might be going just for growth. So you talk about different ways that will get you growth. And it might be a lot of education, a lot of information. And then another time you want to, really, really establish your field of expertise, be seen as an authority in your industry. How do you do that? And that might be where you bring your own, thought leadership into it. You say something that's controversial because you've done some research and it isn't consistent with popular opinion, for example.
Yeah.
But you've tested it and you know this to be an option, or no, this is a way you can do things differently, and you want to share that with your audience. So, it's a really whole, it's looking at it from a holistic approach.
And I think that the funny thing with strategy is that a lot of people hear that word and they think, oh my goodness, it's really big and serious and it's something too complicated. I'm just going to start. I'm just going to start doing something because then I'm taking action, and action is good. But the funny thing is that the strategy actually makes it more simple, and the strategy actually makes it clearer. And it's not big and complicated.
No.
It's often about taking all those jumble of thoughts and making something really clear out of it, choosing a path, and then you can go a lot faster and go a lot further than if you just randomly doing things or doing what you see other people doing, because then you're jumping from one thing to another all over the place, and you've got no real rhyme or reason of what you're doing. So 100% completely agree with you on that. It's so important. And, when I see people who haven't got a strategy or they've not aligned it, I really just feel like, oh, if I could just help you, slow down for a moment. Let's get a little bit of structure in there so that what you're doing is actually having some results. What a difference difference that makes.
Yes, that is the key word. It's the structure.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you are, going out there and feeling like you have progress, how do you know that you've had progress unless you're comparing it to a goal?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know? So, having that structure in it, I think too, the mentality of when you've worked many years in business and in corporate business, you think of a strategy or a business plan as a 35-page document. And that's what can feel, oh, my God, where do I start? Terribly overwhelming. But you know what? It might be 2 pages of dot points, with some headings, three large actionable activities under each, and then you can fill in the meat on the bones.
Absolutely.
Underneath that. So
those big documents, you create them, you save them, and then you never look at them again.
Put them in the top drawer. Yeah.
The number of top ones I had to create back in my corporate days and would never get used. No, I'm a big fan of the 2-page plan. I'm like, that's it. That's all you need. You can stick it up on your wall. You can look at it anytime. That's all you need to have. So
that's it.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Pin your values across the top, 5 keywords that are your values, so that you know that whatever you're delivering is that aligned value I have. Yes.
Lovely.
Aligned values. That's it.
Beautiful. Now, if anybody wants to connect with you and see a bit more about what you do and get entertained by some of your great reels that you put up there, because you're always entertaining me with your reels, where can they best find you, Kristy?
They can best find me on Instagram, and that my handle is @stickybeak_social media. And I welcome connections. Even if you want to have a DM, have a chat, if there's any opportunities for collaborations, I'm very open.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And I'll hook that up in the show notes so that you can find Kristy easily. If you didn't catch what we said there, it's all in the show notes. So go through there and go and connect. And then we'd love to hear any thoughts or feedback that you've had on this episode, anything that you've found of value that's helping you, then please just share that with us. Share it in a story, tag us on your Instagram. We would both love to hear your feedback too. So thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Jess.
Thank you, Kristy. It's been a pleasure having you today.
It has.
Are your services aligned to the right clients for your business? Well, if you're not seeing the right clients coming in, then that's a sure sign that there's something out of alignment in your strategy. They're not being attracted by what it is that you're putting out there. So there's clearly a detachment there. It's a bit like if you try to push a supermarket trolley and not all the wheels are pointing in the same direction, it's going to feel really hard, and you know what that's like. Whereas when the wheels are aligned, they're all pointing towards the right direction, it just works so much easier. Now, this is what can happen when you get your strategy into alignment so that you're bringing in the right clients to the right services, you're profitable, and it just feels easy. It's like that beautiful trolley that wheels away and you don't have to fight it to get it around a corner. Now, this is exactly what I share with you inside my program, Business Jam, where you're going to get my simple blueprint for alignment in your strategy so that you're bringing in the right clients with the right services, and you've got the marketing and sales journey to support that, to take them from stranger to customer without the hustle, without cold DMs and sleazy sales tactics, without complicated funnels, and without even paid ads. Sure, you can use them, but you don't have to use them if you've got the setup right. Business Jam opens May the 30th, and the doors close again on the 3rd of June. So now's the time to check it out and see whether this might be the solution that you need for your business. And trust me, if marketing is feeling hard, if you're not getting enough clients and not getting the quality of clients that you really want, then it is your strategy where the changes need to be made. It's not a matter of doing more marketing to get them in, because if they're not buying now with what you're doing, then why would you expect they will buy when you're doing more? So head over to jessicaosborne.com/businessjam to learn more, to find out about this program. Come and join me, and let's get your business and your strategy aligned so that it is rolling smoothly for you into the end of 2022.